in our decision making as we prep for each and every game throughout the regular season and the postseason. And a lot of it is tied into who's available, you know, what the matchups are. And our matchup numbers they're developed by us, just like every team has an analytical group that puts all the information together, and it spits out a number to me and my coaching staff and the whole strategic group that puts together game plans and how we're going to use guys. So, you know, you rely on it. You stay true to the process in understanding the pieces you have available, pieces of the players you have available that day to go ahead and hopefully, you know, finish off the game. It didn't happen yesterday. Didn't work out. But I don't know if anybody remembers, but just a couple days ago we were in Toronto. And George Kirby got the last 3 outs in a position he'd never been in his life. Why did we make that decision at that time? Because our process led us to that decision. And it worked great. But it was a spot that George had never been in before, but we thought at that time it gave us the best decision to win the game, just like yesterday. We thought at that time it was the best decision to allow us to win the game. So, again, a lot goes into it. I said when the playoffs started, the beauty of the playoffs is there's so many eyes and there's so much at stake. And the thing we forget oftentimes is the best players in the world are playing at this time. It's a really good team we're playing. We played a fantastic game yesterday. We really did. We were all over, probably the guy who's going to win the Cy Young this year. Awesome at bats. We played very good defense. We controlled the strike zone. We were in charge of the game. The 8th and the 9th inning did not go our way. Okay? And you have to give the other team some credit. Andres Munoz is out there, probably him and Eddie Diaz, probably the most dominant late inning relievers in baseball over the last few months. Alex Bregman hits a 2-run homer off him. And then they got deeper in that inning that allowed some other things to happen in the 9th inning. So you have to give credit to these guys on the other side. They get paid to play too, and they're just as competitive as anybody else, and they've been there before. So again, it didn't go in our favor. Our process was really good. Stand by it. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to get off it. Why would you? That's what got us to this point. What got us to this point is leaning on Paul Sewald and Andres Munoz and Diego Castillo and the guys out of the bullpen. But again, you know, tough one yesterday. We will put it behind us. Anybody's watched us all year long knows how resilient this group is. We've had our backs against the wall, and it's one game. 5-game series are not won with one game, okay? It certainly helps. It puts you in a better position. There's no question about it, but we'll come back out tomorrow. We'll play a good game. Again, very confident of that. I know the makeup of this club as good as anybody and feel very strongly about it. So, again, long-winded answer. It's coming. I get it. It's part of the job. But I love playoff baseball. I do. I'm not going to back away from it. But there's decisions that happen throughout the course of it that will go your way and some that won't go your way. But we had a good process behind it, and I feel good about it.
Hey, Scott, we're obviously able to access some public-facing information, baseball reference, splits, and all that. I'm not asking you to give away any of your proprietary secrets, but beyond the left-on-left matchup, specifically Robbie against Alvarez there, what are maybe a few of the things that you could tell us that you liked about the matchup?
Well, Robbie Ray's obviously a very accomplished pitcher. It is left on left. But Jordan Alvarez is very good left on left. We know that going into it. You have to weigh the odds and where it's at right there. And again, I'm looking at the numbers that are in front of me. I trust them. And what plays into that is not just the handedness of the pitcher, but what that hitter hits, what that pitcher fires out there. Now, you got to get the ball, you got to execute, you got to get the ball in the right spots, and hopefully it leads you to the result you're looking for. But to break it all down and tell you how the soup is made, I'm probably not going to do that for you, Corey. That's it. Why would I? You know, every team has information like that, and you're trying to predict the future. But the game is played by humans. You know, they're guys out there, they're athletes. There's a lot that plays into it, and you have to go out and execute it, and hopefully it goes your way. Even if you execute sometimes, the guys on the other team are good too at this time of year.
Go to JP, right.
Thanks, Scott.
Yep.
Looking at the bullpen options and also starting options, does having used Robbie in relief make it more likely that perhaps you go with Kirby in Game 3 and keep Robbie in the pen?
You're on top of it, JP. Yeah, that decision was made obviously before the series started, which led into some things in availability of Robbie yesterday. So that's the way we're leaning right now.
Go in the front to Larry.
Scott, you said before the game yesterday that you're going to need Paul Sewald in leverage situations. Yep. He had the bad outing in Toronto. He didn't get through the 9th yesterday. Where are you with him, and what are you seeing from him?
I do know, and it's a fair question, Larry. The only way for the Mariners to get to the World Series and win it, you have to lean on the people that got you here. And looking at our bullpen, it's certainly it's Diego, it's Munoz, it's Sewald, it's Swanee in the right pockets, it's Matt Brash in the right pockets. Those are the guys that got us here. You don't all of a sudden flip script right now. And if you look at the inning yesterday, I'm sure there's some pitches Paul would like to have back. You know, the hit by pitch or the walk. Certainly hurt. I thought he executed a pretty good pitch that Payne got a single on. It happens, and he's good too. But you really can't start, flipping all over the map. That's not what got us here.
Go on the front of Matt. Left.
Scott, this might play into the whole how the soup was made thing, but people might be wondering, the armchair quarterbacks. Robbie hadn't pitched well against the Astros this year. He didn't have a good outing the last time in the playoffs. You had a lefty, Matthew Boyd, in the bullpen as well. These are just questions. I'm not saying they're the right answers, but how would you respond to that?
We made the decision we made based on the players we had available, based on the number and the information I had available, and stand by it.
Go to Ryan.
Hey, Scott, you mentioned Swanee. We haven't seen him. I think he warmed up in Toronto. I didn't know if maybe he's what you say, the soggy or anything like that, or if he's not feeling great. I know he hadn't been great down the stretch. Is that a factor too? Is kind of the numbers he put up in the last 5 or 6 games? Because he had been a pretty big part of your roster. So we just didn't know if he was available or not.
Yeah, no, Swanee's been available. Again, you're trying to look at pockets and where we were at in the ball game, and there's certain hitters and parts of the lineup that Swanee matches up better than others against. I'm sure you'll see him in there this series. I can't imagine us winning this series without using Eric Swanson in key points and key moments. Again, I can say it over and over, and you can say, he's not really answering the question. I am answering the question, okay? And there's no other way to put it. When you have a plan and you go into it and you believe in a process and what you're doing and how you do it, and the numbers match up with where everybody is on board with it, and it's myself, it's coaching staff, it's analytical group, it's strategic group. There's a lot of people involved here, and everybody is in agreement going ahead with it, and you pull the trigger, so to speak, and it doesn't work out. You have to live with that, and I certainly can. I believe in our team. We've got a really good team. We belong here, and it's been a long time since we've been in the playoffs. And I know our fan base and everybody around the Mariners is starving. This is what you're starving for. It's the highs and the lows and everything along the way. And as great as it was Saturday night in Toronto, we felt the low yesterday. That's okay. That's the beauty of playoff baseball. That's why we watch it with such intensity. And there's so much impact and value in every out, and there's so much tied to every pitch. It's awesome. We need to enjoy it. We really do. I am. Yesterday was rough, no question about it. But I know how hard it is to get here, how hard it is to win here. That's the beauty of the whole thing. Be grateful where we're at. We've got a chance to win tomorrow. We send the rock to the hill, and I like our chances.
Go in the middle over here.
Vigo Tamuri and Como News in Seattle. On the other side of that, 10 runs against Toronto, 7 yesterday, the way the bats have woken up and different guys doing it, how encouraging is that going forward?
I mentioned earlier, I thought we played a great game yesterday. The first 7 innings, as good as we can do offensively against, Justin Verlander's probably going to win the Cy Young this year. We were on it. We made great adjustments. He was a little off earlier. He made some good pitches that we hit. He made some bad pitches that we hit. I mean, up and down the lineup, the guys were on it, and you can't ask for any more. We got key double play turned in the 7th inning. Thought our defense, Kelenic made a nice play on a ball that was roped to left field to him. The guys were in the right spots. I mean, we executed the game plan perfectly. Just didn't get it done in the 8th and 9th inning. It happens in baseball. But again, our team, were we down yesterday? If you're going to find me a team that's not down after that game, that's a rough one. Talking to our guys afterward, we're in here today, getting some treatment, make sure we're ready to go tomorrow. Our guys understand we've lost some tough games before, and we always bounce back. There's no reason we won't this time.
Go in the middle with Chris.
Hey, Scott, you mentioned you got The Rock tomorrow. What makes him so good, and it's just been such a nice addition to this club?
He's got great stuff, first of all. The two-seam fastball, the riding four-seam, the slider, the changeup. He's got all the pitches. He's got a very good demeanor on the mound. I don't think the moment gets too big for him. He just keeps executing and throwing his stuff up there. You got to play good defense behind him. I thought we did that in Toronto. We've done it for the majority of the year. There are going to be some ground balls hit. You got to make plays. He's got the ability to strike you out, but this club, they're going to put the ball in play. So you got to play good defense and be on top of your game. So, again, especially against the Astros, they do a very good job of controlling counts, working their way into counts. They're going to grind through at bats. And in doing that, you got to just keep executing and executing and executing, and you'll get the result you're looking for. So, and there's something about certain pitchers in the game. And I think Luis Castillo has that. When he takes the mound, I know how our team feels playing behind him. Like he's a dude. Like, he's just his mannerisms on the mound. The other team knows it. The looks on the batters' faces when they're getting in the on-deck circle or they're in the dugout, and you look into the other dugout, like he's got great stuff. And there's no reason he can't have a great outing for us tomorrow.
Good, JP.
Along those lines, have you had some fun getting to know you conversations with Luis when he came over at the trade deadline, and maybe what are your favorite aspects of his personality? I'm wondering if you heard from friends with the Reds about kind of what to expect from him personality-wise.
We had a couple guys on our team that had played with him, so I had a heads up before we acquired him what we were getting. I think that this guy's always got a smile on his face. Doesn't look like the weight of the world is ever on his shoulders. And he's gone through some things in his career. He's bounced on a couple different teams and whatnot. I do know getting to talk to him right around the time that we extended the contract with him and how much it meant to him that we would offer that kind of long-term commitment to him and his family. It meant the world. And I think him joining our organization at this time, it's a perfect fit. Where we were at, where he is at in his career, and I do know when you make a commitment to a player like that, it becomes a partnership, so to speak, and knowing that he's going to be here for a while. So there's a growing mutual trust is the best way to put it, not just from me to player, but from organization to player, and where he's at and how he goes about it. But again, as good a stuff as he has, he doesn't try to overcomplicate things. He doesn't get way deep into the weeds on the numbers or the matchups and things like that. In his mind, I got really good stuff. I'm the rock. Here we go. It's on. Let's compete. He's really good at it.
Go in the front with Daniel.
Hey, Scott, Fromber's come quite a long way over the past few years. What have you seen from him from afar, and how do you guys kind of approach a guy like that, lefty who throws a ton of spin?
Yeah, he's got really good stuff, a great repertoire. Obviously, had an awesome season. When you look at the consistency of what Valdez did out there and the number of quality starts that he was rolling out there, I think he's evolved a lot. He's always had a good curveball, the sinking fastball, the changeup has played in. He throws a ton of strikes. You got to be ready to hit. Again, I said it the other day about Verlander. He will make some mistakes. Framber will as well. There's no pitcher alive that doesn't. They don't put the ball where they want to put it all the time. So you just got to be ready. You got to be on the attack and ready to roll. I thought our guys did a great job of that yesterday, and I expect similar here going forward. But a little bit different approach, certainly. Handedness is different. Stuff is different. How they approach you is different. So we have to make a little bit of adjustment there. But we've seen him. We've seen him in the past. Again, he'll make mistakes. You just got to be ready for him.
On the front row on the right, Adam.
Scott, we've seen how you've had to, your approach and how you've had to adjust pitching to Mike Trout over the years. Do you have to maybe pitch Yordan Alvarez in the same way now going forward?
It's funny you would put those two in the same bucket because I do. They're really good. You look at the year that Aaron Judge has had and what Mike Trout has done throughout the course of his career and where Yordan Alvarez is trending, and he's been there for a while. Those are, it's the top 3, 4, 5, 6 hitters in the game. They can hit any pitch, no matter who's throwing it. And along the way, you understand that. So in any game, not just a playoff game, but any game you go into, there's the one guy that you'd like to say, hey, we need to stay away from this guy. We can't let this guy beat you or whatever. They've got more than just one guy on their team. But he's certainly near the top of the list. And there are situations that come up in the game where you just can't walk people. You know what I mean? And then that's what happened yesterday a little bit. You're going to walk him to put the tying run on second base. You don't do that in baseball. You don't. People have been in the game as long as I have, understand, like, this is not what you do. So there are times it's man against man. Here we go. It's on. It's got to happen. And sometimes it goes your way and sometimes it doesn't. But certainly, he's a guy we pay a lot of attention to, how we're going to pitch him. Be very careful with how you pitch him. But again, I go back to the 8th inning in yesterday's game. Andres Munoz, in my opinion, may have the best slider in the game. He took a 94-mile-an-hour slider and hit 115 miles an hour off the fence. He's pretty good. We didn't make a bad pitch. We threw our best pitcher threw his best pitch to their best hitter. He got it. The same thing happens tomorrow, we might win it.
Ryan?
Scott, you seem to have processed this pretty well, like moving forward. How do you go back last night though and relive it for a while? I mean, it's not like players watch it and go, but like as a manager, do you go back, rewatch it, rethink it, or anything like that? Talk to your guys. I'm just guessing, what is your process in moving forward and adapt, watching a game and then moving forward and learning from it or something like that?
Well, thankfully, my process is much different than your process, Ryan. There was no crown in my process last night. But, we're human, right? That's the game. You go back and you think, what could I have done different, or what should we have done different? And at the end of the day, if you truly believe in what you're doing and the people around you, and you take all the information in, you make the best decision you can at that moment, and you move forward. Again, it's a 106-win team over there. And you need, for win where you started, you need to win 13 games to win the World Series. Going 13-0 is very difficult, okay? It's really hard. You're not going to win every game. Understand it. We were up 4 runs in a great spot. It didn't happen. But there's going to be adversity along the way. There's going to be bumps in the road. You're going to get kicked in the teeth, so to speak, and then it happens. You've got to bounce back from it. So, I think it's you're always going to debrief. You're going to go back. What could we have done a little bit differently here or there? And sometimes you just look at it, and there's nights that I look at it and say, oh, we got lucky tonight. There's other nights you look at it and say, hey, they got lucky tonight. Yesterday really wasn't one of those games. We threw our best guys out there. They got big hits in big times. It was good teams going after it. That's what happens in the playoffs.
Go over to Shannon on the left.
Scott, how much did you check in with the pulse of the team and individuals after last night's game?
Yeah, individuals more than the whole group together. I'm not sure what you're going to say after a game like that that's going to make anybody feel a whole lot better. When I first left the ballpark yesterday, I thought maybe a day off isn't such a bad thing. I wake up this morning and I said, let's go play. I'm ready to play. And I think that's how our team feels. We're ready to get back on the field and compete because that's what these guys do. And I talk about it over and over how resilient this group is. They have short memories. They really do, and you have to in this game if you want to be successful. Our team's pretty good at turning the dial, turning it over. Let's move on and look forward because we got a lot of big baseball yet ahead of us.
All right. Thanks for coming in, Scott.
Yep, you got it.
All right. We'll open it up for Jared. Start with Daniel in the front.
Jared, you've always wanted to play on the grandest stage since you were a kid. What has the past week or so been like being in the postseason for you and just this team?
It's been pretty surreal, especially for a young guy like myself. I've dreamed about playing where I'm at today. Seeing it on TV, to be out in the outfield in that environment, it's pretty surreal.
Go to JP on the right.
Jared, can you talk us through the process of the adjustment that you made this year in season to get you now to being the player you are, and anybody hitting coach-wise or mentors that you want to thank for helping you get here?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things. A lot of it was just like the thought process on a lot of things, understanding distractions, good ones and bad ones, and learning how to recognize the bad ones and eliminate them. That was the biggest thing. This game's hard enough, and anytime you're up there not focusing 100% of your attention on what the pitcher's trying to do to you and just attacking the game, it makes it that much harder. And so this year, that's one thing that I really had to, kind of focus on was understanding the distractions.
Going to front to Larry.
Jared, that was such a tough loss last night. How do you think the team's going to process that and get beyond it?
We're not really tripping. It's baseball. Yeah, it sucks, but you know, the good teams, they turn the page. It happens, you know. Made a good swing, and unfortunately, we lost. But you know, you look at the positives. Like, we played an unbelievable baseball game from start to finish, and that gives us confidence going into tomorrow for sure. And that's how we're looking at it. You know, yeah, it sucks we lost, but you know, we're just as ready to go tomorrow as we were yesterday.
Go to JP.
I'm curious, how much do you still stay in touch with Gavin Lux, with both of you being from Wisconsin and seeing him made a great play last night in a key double play? How much do you kind of keep following each other here as you're both playing in the postseason?
Yeah, you know, Gavin is someone that, you know, he's a tremendous baseball player. He's a great person too. And he's been to the postseason before. So to be able to lean on a guy like that, it's huge.
Go to Ryan in the front.
Jared, we've seen you hit a lot of balls to the left side pretty hard and pretty crisply. It seems like you're seeing the ball get deeper. Is that just a function of the work you've done and being able to spray it around? Even the homer in T-Mobile to left field, it's something that I know Scott has really mentioned that he's really pleased to see.
Yeah, I think I'm at my best. So I'm spraying the ball, you know, left center, right center, gap to gap, and that's what I work on in BP. So I'm not really surprised that it's translating into the game. It should, right? If you work on it, it should translate. But you know, I'm feeling really good at the play right now, and I'm just gonna try to keep that same approach of letting the ball travel, and then you're able to recognize a lot of different pitches too.
Go to Corey in the left.
Hey, Jared. It seems like, you know, we talk a lot about offense. It's such a prevalent part of everyone's game, and certainly of your game as well. But I'm thinking about yesterday, about the nice play you made on the liner, tagging up going into second, which proved to be a very big play at the time. How much are you also, is it easy to sometimes shift that narrative in your own head and focus on the complete game? Because it looks like you are rounding into being a complete player.
Yeah, I think, especially in games like this, that extra 90 feet matters. And you're referring to when I tagged up from first, right? Yeah. You know, anytime you can take an extra 90 feet, you know, that could be the difference between winning the game and losing. And we all know that in that clubhouse. And so if there's any chance that we can get an extra 90 feet, get somebody in scoring position, that's what we're going to do, because every run matters. It showed yesterday.
Go on the right to Chris.
Jared, can you just talk a little bit about the confidence that you guys have with Luis taking the mound tomorrow and what he's meant to this team?
I mean, that guy's a dog. He is pretty special. You know, I really enjoy watching him pitch. I mean, he throws the ball so hard, it moves so much, it's almost impossible to hit. But you saw us showing out in Toronto, and you know, he's put in his work for the last few days to get ready for tomorrow, and you know, I know he's going to go out and shove.
We'll go front to Ryan.
Jared, the defense, Corey had mentioned it, but the ball you played off the Crawford boxes and kind of let it bounce back, how difficult is that kind of setup out there? I know when you were here before, you played center and not left,
right. And
how much of an adjustment has that been for you?
Yeah, I mean, the Crawford boxes make it difficult, especially in left, especially if you haven't played there before. You just got to be conscious of it. The ball that Jordan hit, I think in like the third inning or something, I didn't think it had a chance to hit the wall until it just kept carrying. But the hard part is that, you know, luckily that ball bounced straight back right to me. Sometimes it kicks to the right or left, and that's when you're in trouble. But we had a workout before the game, the day before the game yesterday, and we did a bunch of work off that wall, just trying to anticipate anything. You know, it comes off the wall hard, and you just have to expect it.
JP.
Prior to the weekend games in Toronto, I'm curious if in years past you had gone to postseason games in person, and if you had any memories of watching the Brewers or other games in the playoffs before.
Yeah, I went to the Brewers playoff games, and like talk about just an electric atmosphere. But I remember the flight from Seattle to Toronto. I was going through and I was watching on like YouTube all the like postseason highlights of back when like Josh Hamilton was with the Rangers and stuff like that, and how electric that was. And I was just like, I got goosebumps watching it, because I'm like, you know, we're about to be doing this.
I'll go to Alyssa in the back.
Jared, I'm just curious, the overall mood of the team from demeanor more so from regular season to postseason? Is there one or two things that you notice that are different, or is it pretty consistent in terms of just how you guys talk to each other? If there are nerves, just postseason, regular season to postseason.
Obviously I wasn't here the whole regular season, but like one thing that I was here throughout the season though, and I think one of the biggest things that I recognize from when I started the year with this team, when I came in here in July, and then when I ended the year with this team, the team as a whole got more confident every single time I came back, which I knew that was only going to translate onto the field. And it's been fun to be around just because it's such a great group of guys in that clubhouse. But then when you all are bonded together with a lot of confidence, you're a pretty dangerous team. And, going into tomorrow, where we're at confidence-wise is going to be awesome.
Go one more with Shannon.
Somewhat along those lines. I don't think you know until you get into it, and baseball is kind of the game of keep everything the same. Is it the same focus-wise, or can you have a different focus in the postseason?
It's the same focus. You try to make things not bigger than what they are or less than what they are. And I think this team does a really good job of playing loose. Yesterday, and even when we were in Toronto, like we were still messing around. Even when we were down in Toronto, like we're down like 8-1, 9-1, or whatever it was. We are going to go about our business the same way, and let the rest just kind of happen.
All right. Thanks for coming in, Jared.
Thanks.
Thank you. And that will wrap up the interview room for today.